Good evening, friends, followers, maybe some enemies, I don't know. People who might be interested in this. I'm probably going to say some of the same things again on a live video for one of the venues, but I'm recording for YouTube and going to post this. I want to comment or do some commentary on what happened to President Trump this week, the assassination attempt. And so, for the completely uninitiated, I will introduce myself. I am Reverend Joe Cottle, known in a friendly way as Pastor Joe to the constituents of our fellowship and my friends. But I'm also 36 years as a professional in transportation, and kind of a median educated blue collar citizen of the United States. And within those contexts, I'm taking the liberty to make this video and make my comments. It's my freedom of speech. It is my hope and prayer that this is not my Bonhoeffer moment. First of all, I wouldn't really want to compare myself to a man of that caliber and his saintly and yet patriotic within his citizenship caliber. Now, having said that, America's changed so drastically that none of us really know when we speak up now what we're up against. But I want to preface this by saying that I did not come to this moment of recording and broadcast on my own opinion. I waited all of Sunday. I'm preaching and visiting people and so on, and a lot of distractions, and couldn't get into things. So I had some time today to listen to some news reports from around the world, and hear from some professionals. And that's how I informed my opinion. And yet I want to give you some of my own perspective as a reader of military things. Don't claim to be a veteran, not trying to. God bless them all. I respect them all. God grant them peace and restful sleep. Certainly I say that. But not just giving an offhand opinion. I made sure that I heard some things. And in the course of the people that I listened to today, I heard very, very, very parallel or reflective things from, I believe it was 5 different professional sources. In each case, they were people who had worked in the what they call the executive security field. Um, and so they were former operatives of our country and the countries of our allies who had worked with the Secret Service in the past, or they were former Secret Service members themselves. And significant to me that they all said the same things. And there was a consensus that certain things should not have happened. Not all of them were willing to make the statement or ask the question that I'm about to ask. But they went over a few factors. Number one, and primary, foundational to all that we're going to consider. It is not acceptable, neither is simple incompetence a plausible reason for that shooter being within 150 yards of the stage. Perimeter for a head of state or a former head of state in a political campaign where there's an expectation of contrary opinion and contrary things and so on. And you know, people doing things at a higher level of intensity. A 300-yard perimeter, locked down, totally secure, is barely the mark, really isn't even the mark. It's closer to 500 yards. And the reason is they are accounting, particularly with the head of state, for professional grade snipers. They don't know if another country is going to be involved in some kind of incident. And so they have to take into account professional grade snipers. And now, in the world of sniping, you know, 1,000-yard shots are made every day. So incompetence is not plausible. It's not plausible. And I want to add to that this statement from my own experience. I am no professional shooter. I do not get a lot of range time in every year. I don't even hunt every year, but I am a deer hunter on occasion. And if we go back about 5 years, I have I was using a sporterized World War I, early World War II, very old technology, military grade weapon. 30 caliber, bolt action. And aftermarket scope. The scope didn't have rangefinder in it. And so I'm not bragging on me at all, because I have so many people, just my friends, that can always shoot me, and I only shoot what I do shoot by their coaching. And sometimes they're laughing. I've been known to, you know, kill innocent trees before. I shot a moving deer walking at 150 yards, 140 yards from my shoulder, and stopped that deer with that weapon. They're they're not setting up that perimeter for a guy like me. They're setting it up for professionals. So for somebody to be within that range with a long gun, incompetence is not a plausible. It's not a plausible reason. It shouldn't fly with us. There's something else that's got to be answered. Couple other things that all of them said. They all said, why didn't the Secret Service immediately move Trump off of the position called X, which means it is the target spot, 3 to 4 feet square, that the shooter has identified he can reach. Why wasn't he moved from X immediately, literally drugged from there? That is a Secret Service and a executive protection protocol. You never leave the target on position X. And some are going to say, well, Trump wanted to stand up and shake his fist. Every guy, every person that spoke that I listened to today, there were 5. There were 3 former Secret Service operators. There was a man from MI6. There was an Australian operative that had also worked with our Secret Service. Every one of them said, this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. Why were the people... So that's the second point. You can let Trump wave to the crowd maybe from, the protected windows of the SUV and stick a hand out and say hi, or maybe once you've moved, once you've saw, that the threat's solved. But you don't leave him on X. Why did they stand him up on X and immediately in front of him are people, Secret Service agents, that did not come to his chin? Because the first assumption in securing an area is an elevated shooter. It's what you have to watch for the most. They're looking for a clear shot. And so all points of elevation are taken into account. And they didn't do it. The people standing directly in front of him offered any elevated shooter a shot from mid-sternum all the way past the top of his head. Those positions are assigned. We cannot be under delusions here. They're assigned. We have no explanation. Why those people were not behind the president, where there were already bleachers, risers, people, but in security consideration, something that blocks the shot. Why weren't the short people back there? Why were they in front? We got a lot of questions to ask. I'm going to end with this. We have to be very vigilant in considering what happens for the next 3-4 weeks on this topic, maybe a month. We have to see who disappears. We have to see whose story disappears. We have that attendee that had the red beard, and he's did a couple of interviews, but at least one that's a very good recording of him, saying, I pointed him out. We have somebody else that had cameras. a video of it from probably the cell phone, including of the shooter. We got to see who disappears. And yes, I am a savage skeptic on this. Trusting no one. It's a big deal to consider. Let me end with this, and then I'll probably do a live for Facebook and go back through all of this. Trump's alive by the act of God. You shouldn't expect me to say less. I'm a preacher of the gospel. Trump is alive by an act of God. The shooter got off at least 3 rounds. 1 clipped Trump, 1 killed a man. 2 other people were injured critically. So he may have gotten off 4 or 5. Which, by the way, is its own set of questions. Because some are saying, well, there's rules of engagement, and the counter snipers could not fire until he fired, and every operator today, every operator, dismissed that out of hand. There are no such rules of engagement in executive protection, particularly not heads of state or former heads of state. If a threat is seen and identified, it is taken out. And there are no shoot first, shoot second rules. Something else to think about. But I want to say this. If I, with a 100-year-old weapon, can tag a deer, and it wasn't a big one, by the way, not that big at all, not that much different in a target, can tag a deer at 150 yards from my shoulder. Trump is alive by an act of God. And we should be very, 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 very aware of that. Shooter with a much lower recoil weapon than I was using when I took that deer. The shooter got off at least 3. Some are saying as many as 8 rounds, but at least 3. So, thank God that President Trump's alive. You and I as citizens, that's why I'm making this. You and I as citizens have a lot to consider, an immense amount to consider. We cannot be deceived by manufactured narratives. It's a new day. You know, Lee Harvey Oswald was legitimately 400 yards away, 6 stories high, hidden for all of the people that are into the JFK conspiracy. This shooter was allowed to get to 150 yards in street clothes with a long weapon and was allowed to be seen doing it. That evokes some deep questions. And I believe as citizens, that's why I'm talking, as citizens, we must be vigilant now and not easily susceptible to some made up line of thought. It's of no value, which is why I went to professionals and wanted to hear what they said. So praise God that President Trump lived. He's brave. He's at the convention. He's making it happen. May God protect him every day.